Hey everyone, it's good to meet you. I'm Jordan Howard. I'm a Looker account executive working the UK market. I've been with Looker for about 2 years, 3 years, excuse me, and excited to speak with you all today. I wanted to take you through a quick presentation and introduction to Looker. What I was going to explain to you all today is why Looker is unique from other traditional tools on the market like Tableau, Power BI, Click, Sisense, and Data Studio, and why Google decided to invest in us as their platform to go ahead with providing data to not only the internal business but also your external clients as well. So the first slide I wanted to shape to you is the idea of workbook analytics versus Looker. So traditionally, tools like Tableau, Click, so on and so forth, were designed as workbook analytics tools. So, in order to operate them, what you need to do is extract data from your different individual data sources, transform that data, then load it into a workbook so it can be used. They're great tools for visualizing data. However, what a lot of our prospects have has described to us is you have these workbook tools and you create a report for, say, the finance department. Maybe you have some in-app reporting, maybe you have some automated report as well. And we send out this particular report, and it could be a very good report. It kind of causes questions, it causes interest, and maybe there's some additional questions on that report. The issue with this is when those questions start coming, if the data is not already available to them in that specific report, the metrics are not also there. What happens is we hit that those end users hit a wall, and they have to come back to the data team to say, "Hey, can you actually add in an additional metric? Can you add in a different date range?" So we can see a wider picture, so on and so forth. And so they rework that report. Maybe that takes, 10, 20, 30 minutes. In a lot of situations, that could take a few hours. That could take, in some situations, a few days, a few weeks. And so it goes back to that person. They get it. Maybe they have an additional question, which is a good habit because we want our end users to be asking questions. The problem is it's problematic in terms of having a data driven culture and speed to insights to make a decision. So we see two main problems that occur. One is the data bottleneck, where that data team essentially just becomes report builders. They're reacting to, the larger business sending in requests to say, "Hey, can we get this additional report?" Which is problematic because those individuals who are making these reports probably can be thinking about more, business forward projects versus having to, send in that, updated weekly report again for the fifth time that week. The next aspect is data chaos, is as we refer to it, is when you have all these different workbooks floating around the business, how do you actually manage and monitor and ensure that all the workbooks are always updated? So someone's not looking at a week old, stale um, look into our finances, or new customers or whatever it may be. We want everyone on the same page. And oftentimes the question we ask to get there is, if on that monthly team meeting when finance and marketing and operations and product are in the room together, if we were all asked to pull the same report, what's the level of confidence that we would all come and get the exact same answer? Typically, the answer we get is the confidence levels are pretty low. And so with Looker, our idea is to blow up this entire cycle and get to an environment where someone could start at your organization tomorrow. They could get on their laptop or their mobile device, and they could ask a question of Looker. They could get the answer back in a few seconds. And most importantly, I think, is that they can trust with certainty that the answer they're getting from Looker is absolutely correct because it's essentially been approved by the data team. And we'll get into that in a minute. But past just logging into a BI platform and getting insights, they also should be able to receive maybe alert via Slack or your messaging service to say, "Hey, actually, can you go check out this account that I've just noticed is exhibiting some poor behavior and maybe a churn risk?" Or maybe it's an embedded dashboard in our Salesforce or HubSpot site that allows me to stay in my, sales friendly environment, but also have the ability to go get insights. So it's the idea of less of investing in a data visualization tool and more of a data platform, in that we're filtering data into the lives of our employees without them even necessarily realizing it all the time. So what Looker is, it's an evolved analytics platform that lets anyone view, explore, and act on the metrics that drive your business. It's a pretty simple, standard sentence of describing a BI tool. I share it because I think we can actually execute on this. And the reason why we can is through three pillars. And this is where Looker is uniquely different from any other tool on the market. One is it's entirely in database. So Looker connects directly to your database. Hopefully that's something like Google BigQuery. Incredibly fast, incredibly scalable, relatively low cost compared to databases of old. It's designed for analysis, so let's make use of it. And so with Looker directly connecting to that database, you no longer extract data from the database. We're able to just view, analyze all of the data in that database. So A, you're getting a holistic view of all of your data. And B, you're getting as close to real time as possible because we're directly connected to that database. As fresh as that data is there, that's how fresh Looker is. The next element of this, which is unique to Looker, is Looker's modeling layer, which we call LookML. And it's where your data team defines the logic, the metric, the relationships of that underlying data one time. Once that is defined, then we allow those end users, non-technical end users, to have access to your BigQuery database through Looker. And what's happening there is it's actually creating a single source of truth because we're going to the same place, BigQuery, every time for answers, and it's passing through Looker as we've defined how all analysis should be done. The next piece is Looker's modern web-based application. So not only can you access it wherever you have internet, you can access it on a mobile device, but I think even more impactful is any of the insights that you find in Looker as you're working through, you can tie in the different applications that you may have. So you can always take action on the insights you see, whether that is saying, hey, take a look at this report to one of your colleagues, or maybe it's I've just seen a segment of our customer base that maybe is doing well enough that they need a promotional email. Maybe we could give them an upsell, or maybe it's a segment of customers that aren't looking so strong, and we should send them an email to say, hey, let's make sure that these don't churn. The next and final element is around our architecture, which I'll get into in a minute. But I wanted to share with you all a quick idea of the impact you can expect from Looker. And this is a pretty simple graph here, but it's really cool because one of our customers, Get Your Guide in Germany, created this for us to show the impact that Looker had on their business, which is as they were transitioning away from Looker, or transitioning to Looker from their old BI tool, what they found was as they started granting more access to Looker and giving more users the ability to ask questions of Looker, the ad hoc requests to their data team essentially died off completely to zero. And you could speak to any of our customers, really, whether it's Go Cardless or Monzo Bank or Deliveroo. These companies see this type of impact at their business. And this is the example and the trends of a data-driven organization. And the final slide I'll share with you is our Looker architecture. So as you can see, it's pretty streamlined. So our idea is to have all of the relevant data sources that you have and have an interest in using for analysis, funneling that into, say, BigQuery. We do work with any SQL database, but obviously Google BigQuery is the best on the market as far as a database. So we would just sit on top of that database. You can view this purple bar as that governance layer where we've defined the metrics, the logic of the business. As an end user, I can log in wherever I have access to internet. I see my dashboards, I see my reports. I start creating my own reports if I want to. And as I'm essentially dragging and dropping in Looker, it's passing through Looker. Looker's understanding the analysis I'm trying to run. And based on how the model has been defined, it's actually going to generate a SQL query for me, write that to the database, do the analysis in the database, and produce the results. There's never any data, again, that's extracted from Looker, only the results of that query, which are then showcased to the end user. So speed to insights, matter of seconds, always a trustworthy way to go. Embedding Looker via iframe, super simple and easy, whether that's an internal portal or application or external. Scheduling a delivery, super common. You can get it scheduled for whenever and through whatever format you'd like. Also, business conditions being set up on that, where if marketing campaign X spends X number of dollars and doesn't reach X level of performance, send an alert to that marketing campaign manager to shut off the marketing campaign. Looker's APIs, which are available to you to tie into those different applications. And then the final piece from a data team standpoint, these are the people that initially fall in love with Looker. I think a big element of that is the model is actually hosted in your own Git branch. So the data team can be collaborating on how do we develop this model and how do we develop a metric. And if a metric wants to be changed, you do it there and then you say push to production. And then the Looker difference is here. Once you push to production, once that metric is updated, every single report, every single dashboard that contains that metric is automatically updated with that relevant metric. So you no longer have to worry about, is this report up to date with the latest way of how we define the metric? Or we have to spend, several weeks trying to update all of the reports. That's a thing of the past with Looker. So it is truly a data platform. And hopefully that came across clearly to you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. That was a really good presentation. Hope you all found that interesting. I'm James Green. I'm Head of Data Analytics and AI at Ancoris. Thanks so much for taking a time out of your day to join us on this webinar. So I have a keen interest in the fintech space, and I've helped companies to leverage their data to make better informed decisions. I spent 12 years with Goldman Sachs and 5 years with restructuring specialists, Alex Partners. Please post any questions in the comments bar and we will be more than happy to address these at the end.
So Ancoris, we are a premier Google partner based here in the UK. Working closely with Google, we help our clients to accelerate their journey across three main areas: enabling a digital workplace, driving business transformation, and achieving a data-driven culture through actionable insights. Last year, a survey of 166 CFOs by NetSuite revealed some of the biggest challenges they shared. So what keeps CFOs up at night? Well, top of the list was juggling too many responsibilities. And then closely followed are the topic of this webinar. Number 2, managing cash flow. And number 3, lack of access to accurate, real-time information. I wonder how these compare with your challenges. Feel free to share some of yours in the comments panel. So in that same survey, CFOs were also asked what techniques they recommend to improve cash flow. 59% agreed, introduce new revenue streams. Now I wonder how these answers would change in light of the current pandemic. Seeing new revenue streams in the current climate feels quite a tall order. Furthermore, the CFOs we have spoken to have highlighted some new challenges. Firstly, future revenues are severely disrupted and are increasingly difficult and time-consuming to model. Secondly, the need to model multiple what-if scenarios using concepts not seen before, such as the furloughing of staff. Again, I'd love to hear from some of the CFOs on the call what challenges you're noticing in this current climate. CFOLab. CFOLab is a data analytics platform developed to help with the challenges CFOs are facing right now. The platform is aimed at CFOs and finance directors across all industries and all regions. We have designed CFOLab to be simple to use. All data capture is done in a very familiar way using Google Sheets. CFOLab uses cutting-edge machine learning and AI technology. For example, CFOLab will predict future payments that are going to either be late or, worse still, not paid at all. So as a CFO or FD, one of your primary concerns is keeping your working capital in the black. CFOLab revolutionizes cash flow forecasting, generating detailed cash flow forecasts as shown here. The top chart shows your daily actual and forecasted cash balance for a time period of your choice. The bottom chart shows a detailed breakdown of your cash flow month on month. If we look at the bottom chart, so the green line clearly shows cash coming in on a monthly basis. The red line clearly shows cash going out. The blue line, very, very important, that's my cash balance at the end of each month. The gray bars, these are my net cash flows, and these are based on actuals. So here we're looking at, in February, I've got a positive net cash flow. In March, I had a negative net cash flow. The black bars indicate where these values are either forecasted by CFOLab in the future or amended retrospectively. And finally, the pink bars on here show payroll. So you can see in this example here, we've got a consistent, steady payroll run rate. Using the latest technology from Google Cloud, we will now explore how CFOLab generates these forecasts in real time. So CFOLab easily connects to your accounting systems. These include SAP, Sage, Xero, and QuickBooks. Once connected, invoices, payments, credit notes, and bank transactions are streamed every hour into a secure, centralized data store in the Google Cloud Platform. CFOLab also captures the various manual inputs used to build your what-if scenarios. CFOLab then applies a series of calculations and AI algorithms to produce a set of actionable insights and a detailed forecast we saw in the previous slide. So on this slide, we're just going to take a brief look under the hood. So CFOLab relies on the latest data analytics technology from Google Cloud and other leading vendors. So of particular note is a leading edge AI, secure and scalable storage in BigQuery, and advanced dashboards in Looker. We also use Fivetran. So some of you might not know, but Fivetran is a modern data analytics ingestion tool. And this allows us to very, very quickly connect to some of the popular accounting systems that you may use. For example, Xero, QuickBooks. And to give you an idea of just how easy that is, the global retailer that are using CFOLab, we connected to their Xero accounts, ingested that into BigQuery on an hourly basis, and that probably took from end to end about 3 hours to set up. So really, really easy, and not a lot of time for your technology teams to spend months and months building things out. CFOLab is more than just a product. It is a modern data analytics platform. So really, I think of it as a modern data warehouse that happens to be analyzing financial data. Many clients will view CFOLab as the starting point of their modern enterprise data platform that aims to serve all business processes and not just finance. Okay, so let's return to our cash flow model. So these screenshots are taken from CFOLab in the interactive forecasting dashboard, all served in Looker. This is a baseline scenario with no additional inputs. So what this means, in this mode, CFOLab will take all the actuals from your data and project these forward to build the forecast. This cash flow model is typical of a retailer with clear seasonal fluctuations. So if we look at the slide at the bottom here, you'll notice that, so at the beginning of the year in January, we saw a decline in sales, which is typical of most retailers. And then with this particular retailer projecting in this summer, so we look at July this year, we're projecting a high amount of cash coming in. So it's a very seasonal retailer. And then we noticed that, and this is a concern, we notice in September that we see a strong dip. And the reason for that, for this retailer, is they're essentially stockpiling inventory ready for the Christmas period. A very common thing that you'll find with retail. And if we look up at the daily cash balance, you can see that there's a real problem here. So CFOLab is highlighting that in the month of October, we're actually going to hit a negative cash balance, clearly shown here, so almost 300K. So what levers can we pull as CFOs to try and relieve this? So CFOLab supports a number of common payroll adjustment strategies shown here. One lever at our disposal is to furlough staff. So let's explore that. So in CFOLab, we create a scenario to model furloughing staff in the 2 months prior to our October cash flow squeeze. CFOLab makes capturing these scenarios really easy using these pre-populated Google Sheets. So in this example, we are creating a furlough example. So I've got my furlough in my forecast name here. And then some of the other relevant config items are, so the furlough cap. So this is currently set by the government at 2.5K. the percentage that the government will cover, which is currently 80%. And here we can enter the number of days it takes for HMRC to rebate our payments. Currently, that's around 10 days. CFOLab supports 4 of these scenarios that can be compared side by side. So we then navigate to the Payroll tab. Here we can clearly see the staffing costs with 1 row for each month in the forecast. So to model our furloughing in August and September, we simply look at the August and September rows. These are our payroll amounts that we've already input. So this is our steady run rate. And you can see in here for this model, we're going to say we're going to actually furlough 80% of staff in those 2 months. So really simple. You can make other amendments to payroll, such as entering new amounts, payroll reductions, or deferring bonus and commission payments. So now we simply refresh our forecast in Looker, and in real time, CFOLab will recalculate that forecast. So if we now look at the forecast, we can breathe a sigh of relief, and you'll see that that cash balance is now projected to be above the line. So we've now got a reasonably healthy, just under 73K. You'll also notice on the forecast by month chart at the bottom, if you remember the pink blocks here are payroll, and you'll notice that there's now a positive payroll amount. So this is effectively the furlough rebate of just over 130K that comes in 10 days after that PAYE date. Again, both dates are configurable in CFOLab. And we furloughed for 2 months, hence why we see 2 deferred payments coming in. Okay, so that was furloughing. So an alternate lever at our disposal as CFOs to solve that October cash flow problem might be to negotiate more favorable payment terms with our suppliers. So let's explore that. In addition to payment term revisions, CFOLab supports various other supplier and customer level adjustments shown here. So for supplier payments, we simply navigate to the Receivables tab in our furlough scenario sheet. Clicking on this refresh button here populates the area in orange with all payments aggregated to 1 row per supplier. Note they are conveniently ordered by invoice amount, weighted by days outstanding. So, to help our October cash flow, we negotiate more favorable terms with our main supplier, Mindis Marketing Limited. We enter the extended terms of 128 days, together with a start date of 1st of June, into our model. So I've got my effective date here, 1st of June, revised terms 128 days. Simple. We can easily model numerous other supplier level amendments as shown here. We include revised amounts and even payment plans. The exact same support is available for receivables. Perhaps we're extending favorable terms to our customers. Of course, these will impact cash flow on the downside. So we've extended our payment terms, and we can see that this has rescued our cash balance again in October. So if we look at the top graph now, you'll see that, again, we're above the line, we're in the black, so that's good. And we're also, if you remember, we're about 73K before, we're now at 230K. So extending those payment terms really has had a good impact on cash flow. However, there's an important implication. So unlike the furlough scheme, which was government funded, extending payment terms is simply deferring the payment. It still needs to be paid back. CFOLab computes these deferrals for you, shown here in the red bars. So where we started to extend those payment terms in June, you'll see that that starts to build up a deferred amount that we effectively owed that supplier. And if we look to the end, we can see that the red bar is showing a significant deferral, so over 700K. So it's really important that when you're making these tweaks, and remember, this is a very simplistic example, but you may have, 200-300 of these amendments, and trying to track exactly what your deferrals are accruing is very important. CFOLab also tracks the deferrals on the customer side. So if you're extending payment terms to your customers, you'll see a as shown here, there's deferrals, you'll see a yellow bar in a similar way that will show you essentially what you're extending to your customers. And then you can compare the yellow and the red bar to give a gauge of, well, how are we helping out our customers versus how are our suppliers helping us out? So on a bit of a brighter note, we may solve our October cash flow squeeze with the addition of a new revenue stream. So let's explore that now. So new income and expenditure is simply entered in the New Payments tab. Here we enter a new business project that is expected to land in August with various payment components. So these include a one-off project income of 400k in August, monthly income of 5k, and a monthly expenditure of services for 500. And you can see again, it's using sheets, so really, really simple to enter. So I've got my two receivables, one is a one-off, this is a recurring, I've got a recurring payable, also got an additional recurring receivable, and I can set these up a bit like you do a recurring meeting when you're on the calendar. You can set up recurring either income coming in or income coming out. We can now see in our revenue stream, we can now see that this revenue stream has rescued our cash balance in October. So we've now got a healthy 190k in the black. This was higher than we saw with the furlough option, but less with the extended payment terms. But of course, unlike the payment term extension, we now see no deferral bars down here. This forecasting component is incredibly powerful, accurate, and simple. It can save you many hours of manual effort collating this in other tools such as Excel. It is totally scalable too. So we computed a forecast over 70 million invoice lines, and it took just under 30 seconds to compute in Looker and BigQuery. So I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague, Bailey. Bailey's worked extensively on CFOLab, and he's going to show you some of the additional features.
Thank you, James. Our focus so far has been on managing your cash flow and keeping you in the black, but that's not all that CFOLab does. It is designed to be your aid in all things managing money. Forecasting is just one of the informative dashboards that CFOLab ships with. Now let's look at some more of what's on offer. We'll start with the accounts receivable dashboard. The first thing you'll see is that at the top, we break your invoices down by their status category, whether they are settled as paid, still outstanding, not due, and so on. The next section deals with the primary concern, those which are overdue. When it comes to deciding who to contact first, CFOLab offers a helping hand. Ordering by the amount owed, weighted by the days overdue, you can see straight away how you need to be prioritising your cash recovery. The following tile is a table where you can easily see the details of all of the overdue invoices. Being powered by Looker allows us to add some useful functionality here. We also include hyperlinks to the invoice itself within your accounting platform of choice, as well as the ability to click on a company name to see all of their overdue invoices. These extra actions really make navigating CFOLab a breeze. The upcoming payments section deals with invoices sent but not yet expected. On the left here we have a breakdown by days until due, but do you ever find yourself wondering whether an invoice just sent will be late? Leveraging the excellent AutoMail offering from Google, the AI analyzes known features about the invoice and associated company to make a prediction on whether you can expect to see it paid on time. Furthermore, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about how AutoMail came to that conclusion, we offer the ability to click on the certainty to see all of the underlying features that went into the model. Last but not least, the settled section analyses your historical invoices. We have put together a suite of fascinating analytics to unearth previously buried insights into your data. From the payment compliance of your customers, are they sticking to term dates? To the lost opportunity cost from late payments, how much did those late payments cost you? Another dashboard we'll be showcasing today is your customer clusters. For some context, clustering is a machine learning technique used to discover some naturally occurring patterns in your dataset. In this dashboard, we pass through your invoice data and let it find these patterns. Let's first look at the cluster evaluation table. These provide information about those clusters. Given a friendly name to summarise their defining features, we can see that Comfort Zone contains the customers who are good payers with timely and complete payments. On the other hand, the watch list is the group infamous for late or even no payments. It is good news then, the tile above tells us that the Comfort Zone cluster contains the majority of our clients with a size of 62, and the watch list is much smaller. Underneath, we have some more information about the clusters, and further below we have an exhaustive list of which cluster each of our customers were assigned to, as well as the features which dictated that assignment. If you're looking for a particular customer, no need to scroll, just find them with a filter. On the roadmap, we will be expanding the capabilities of the dashboard with the ability to see how these clusters have evolved over time, tracking when a customer moves to a different cluster, and even setting up alerts for when that happens. And of course, if there are bespoke analytics which you would like for your business, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. That concludes our CFOLab demo. We now have some time remaining for a Q&A, so any questions?